Mike Cooper was just trying to be a good person. Driving home after his second job, he spotted a broken-down SUV on the empty highway. Most people would have kept driving. It was getting dark, and this stretch of Nevada desert wasn't exactly friendly. But Mike wasn't most people. His daughter always said he had a heart too big for his own good. As he pulled over to help, he had no idea the woman in the designer suit was Isabella Reyes, one of the most dangerous drug lords in North America. She watched him approach through tinted windows, her hand resting on a concealed weapon. One simple act of kindness was about to change both their lives forever. What would happen when a man who always sees the best in people meets a woman who's never trusted anyone? Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The old red toolbox rattled in Mike's trunk as he pulled onto the shoulder, gravel crunching under his tires. His father's initials, J.C., were still visible beneath decades of rust and wear, a reminder of the man who'd taught him that helping. Others wasn't optional. It was necessary. The desert wind whipped at his jacket as he grabbed the toolbox and approached the stranded SUV, its glossy black finish looking oddly out of place against the rugged landscape. The woman behind the wheel hadn't moved. Through the tinted glass, he could barely make out her silhouette, straight-backed and still. He tapped gently on the window, keeping his distance. Something about her posture made him think of a startled deer, ready to bolt. "Ma'am, everything okay in there?" The window hummed down exactly 3 inches. In the gathering dusk, he caught a glimpse of high cheekbones, carefully applied makeup, and eyes that seemed to catalogue his every movement. The engine just stopped. Her accent was slight but noticeable, her voice carrying an edge of something he couldn't quite place. "I don't suppose you know anything about cars." Mike smiled, shifting the toolbox to his other hand. "A thing or two. Mind if I take a look?" She hesitated, and in that moment, Mike's phone buzzed in his pocket. Sarah's ringtone. He should answer. His daughter never called this late, unless it was important. Probably about her college tuition payment, due at the end of the week. The same payment that had him working doubles at the garage and evenings at the convenience store, trying to scrape together enough to keep her dreams alive. "I can call someone else," the woman said, noticing his distraction. "A professional." No, it's fine." Mike silenced the phone with a pang of guilt. "Pop the hood for me?" The hood release clicked, and Mike set his toolbox down on the asphalt. The engine compartment of the Mercedes-Benz GLS was spotless, almost too clean. He reached for his father's old diagnostic tool, the one they'd used together on countless Sunday afternoons in their garage. "My name's Mike, by the way. Mike Cooper." Another pause. "Isabella." He nodded, focused on the engine. "Well, Isabella, looks like your timing belt's slipped. Not dangerous, but you won't be driving anywhere tonight without a fix." He straightened up, wiping his hands on his jeans. "I can help if you'd like. Might take an hour or so." Isabella's eyes darted to the empty highway, then back to Mike. Something in her expression shifted, like she was making calculations he couldn't begin to understand. "An hour," she repeated softly, then more firmly. "How much?" "Oh, no charge. Just helping out." Her perfectly manicured fingers drummed once on the steering wheel. "Everyone wants something, Mr. Cooper." The statement hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Mike thought of Sarah's tuition again, of the mounting bills on his kitchen table, but his father's voice echoed in his head. "The moment you start charging for kindness, son, is the moment it stops being kindness." "Not everyone," he said simply, and reached for his wrench. The next 45 minutes passed in relative silence, broken only by the occasional clink of tools and the distant cry of a hunting owl. Mike worked methodically, letting muscle memory guide his hands while his mind wandered to Sarah. She'd be worried by now, wondering why he hadn't answered her call. He'd have to make it up to her somehow. As he tightened the last bolt, a flicker of movement caught his eye. A black sedan driving past with its lights off. Something about it raised the hair on the back of his neck, but he pushed the feeling aside. Focus on the job at hand. That's what his father would say. "Try it now," he called out, closing the hood. The engine turned over smoothly, purring to life. Isabella's shoulders relaxed fractionally, but her eyes were fixed on the rearview mirror. "You should go," she said abruptly. "Thank you for your help, but you should go now." Mike wiped his hands again, studying her face. There was fear there, carefully controlled, but unmistakable. The same look he'd seen in Sarah's mother's eyes years ago when she'd finally decided to leave her abusive second husband. "Are you in some kind of trouble?" "Because if you need help—" "The only trouble here," Isabella cut in, her voice sharp as a blade, "would be you continuing this conversation. Please, go home to your family." Mike hesitated, then slowly packed up his tools. The old toolbox felt heavier somehow, weighted with questions he knew he shouldn't ask. As he turned to leave, Isabella's voice stopped him. "Mr. Cooper, why did you really stop?" He looked back at her, this elegant woman with frightened eyes, sitting in her expensive car, in the middle of nowhere. "Because my daughter always says, I have a heart too big for my own good." He smiled slightly. "And because sometimes everyone needs a little help, whether they want to admit it or not." Isabella's expression remained carefully neutral, but something flickered in her eyes. "Your daughter sounds wise." She reached into her purse, and Mike caught a metallic glint that wasn't quite hidden by the leather. "Drive safely, Mr. Cooper." "And thank you." Mike nodded and walked back to his car, the gravel crunching under his boots. In his rearview mirror, he watched the black SUV pull away, its taillights disappearing into the gathering night. Only then did he finally check his phone. 3 missed calls from Sarah and 1 text message. "Dad, we need to talk. It's about the tuition. They're saying if we can't pay by Friday." He started his engine, trying to shake off the strange feeling that helping a stranded motorist had somehow set something bigger in motion, something that would change everything. He had no way of knowing just how right he was. Isabella watched Mike's taillights fade into the darkness, her hand still gripping the Glock beneath her Hermes bag. The tracking device sewn into the bag's lining blinked steadily, a reminder that in her world, paranoia was just good business. She pulled out her burner phone, checking the encrypted messages. 3 missed calls from Miguel. Not good. The engine's steady purr reminded her of the stranger's kindness. Mike Cooper, a man who stopped to help without wanting anything in return. In her experience, such men didn't exist. Yet there had been something in his eyes, a genuine warmth that made her almost believe. Her phone buzzed. Miguel's message was brief. "They found you. Moving north on 95. Get out. Now." The sound of approaching engines made her blood run cold. Headlights appeared in her rearview mirror, 2 sets, running dark until the last moment. The black sedan from earlier and a matching SUV. She threw the car into drive, tires spinning on loose gravel. In her mirror she caught a glimpse of Mike's car, still visible in the distance. Too close. He was too close to all this. The pursuit vehicles split up, one following her, the other peeling off toward Mike's taillights. Isabella swore in Spanish, her carefully maintained composure cracking. An innocent man was about to pay for her mistakes. She yanked the wheel, hard, executing a perfect J-turn that would have made her cartel driving instructors proud. The Mercedes's powerful engine roared as she accelerated back toward Mike's position. In her rearview mirror, she saw his brake lights flare red as the second vehicle approached him. Her burner phone rang, unknown number. "Listen carefully," a familiar voice said. "The mechanic dies unless you surrender. Your choice, Isabella." She ended the call, accelerating harder. The speedometer touched 120 mph as her mind raced through options. The nearest safe house was 50 miles away, too far. Her emergency gun was in the SUV's hidden compartment, along with enough cash to disappear. But none of that would help Mike. Mike's car had stopped on the shoulder. The black sedan was pulling up behind him. Through her windscreen, she could see a figure emerging from the sedan, metallic glint in hand. Without hesitation, Isabella yanked her wheel hard right. Her SUV left the road at 90 miles per hour, kicking up a storm of dust and gravel. The powerful LED headlights caught the gunman in their glare, momentarily blinding him. She threaded the needle between Mike's car and the sedan, driver's side door flying open. "Get in!" she screamed at Mike. "Now!" To his credit, Mike didn't freeze. Maybe he saw the gun, or maybe he just recognized the tone in her voice, the one that said this wasn't a request. He dove for her passenger door as shots rang out, pinging off the Mercedes's armored body panels. "What the hell is going on?" he demanded as she floored the accelerator. "Long story." Isabella grabbed her Glock from the designer bag, steering one-handed. "Short version? Those men want to kill me. Now they'll probably want to kill you too. I'm sorry." Mike's face went pale as he processed this. His phone buzzed again, Sarah's ringtone. Before he could reach for it, Isabella snatched it and threw it out the window. "Hey, they can track phones," she said grimly. "And right now, staying alive is more important than staying connected." The Mercedes's engines screamed as they hit 130 mph. Both pursuit vehicles were falling behind, but Isabella knew better than to relax. They'd have helicopters in the air soon. They always did. "Look," Mike said, his voice remarkably steady for someone who'd just been shot at. "I don't know what kind of trouble you're in, but I've got a daughter who needs me. I can't—" "Your daughter needs you alive," Isabella cut in. "Right now, that means you stay with me." She glanced in her mirror. "They saw your face. They know your car. Going home isn't an option anymore." Mike fell silent, and Isabella felt a stab of guilt. This kind man had stopped to help her, and she dragged him into her nightmare, another debt she could never repay. "I have a safe house," she said more softly. "We'll go there, figure out our next move. I promise I'll do everything I can to keep you safe and get you back to your daughter." "Who are you?" Mike asked quietly. "Really?" Isabella's hands tightened on the wheel. "Someone who stopped being good a long time ago." She checked her mirrors again. "But maybe not someone completely beyond redemption." The desert night swallowed them as they raced north, leaving only dust and uncertainty in their wake. In the distance, the distinctive thrum of helicopter rotors began to grow louder. The acceptance letter from Nevada State was still folded in Mike's wallet, creased from the dozens of times he'd pulled it out to stare at Sarah's name. Now, as Isabella's Mercedes ate up miles of dark desert highway, he found himself touching it through his jeans pocket, a reminder of everything he had to lose. "We need to ditch this car," Isabella said, breaking the tense silence. "They'll have every patrol unit in 3 states looking for it." Mike watched the speedometer hover around 110. "You do this often, running from people who want to kill you?" A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "More often than I'd like." She glanced at him. "You're taking this remarkably well. My dad always said panic's a luxury you can't afford in a crisis." He gripped the armrest as they swerved around a curve. Of course, he probably didn't have high-speed chases in mind. The helicopter sounds had faded, but Isabella kept checking her mirrors. Her designer bag sat between them, and Mike couldn't help noticing how the overhead lights caught something metallic inside. Definitely not makeup. "There's a garage I know," Isabella said. "Owner owes me a favor. We can switch vehicles there. And then what? We just keep running forever." Isabella's expression hardened. "No, just long enough for me to figure out how to keep you alive." She accelerated around a slow-moving truck. "You should have just kept driving tonight." "Yeah, well, my daughter says the same thing about my helping people." Mike shifted in his seat. "Speaking of Sarah, we can't contact her. Not yet. It's too dangerous. She's going to think something happened to me." "Something did happen. To you." Isabella's voice was quiet but firm. "The best thing we can do for her right now is stay alive and stay ahead of them." The garage appeared ahead, a rundown building with a flickering neon sign. Isabella pulled around back, where a heavy-set man was already waiting. His eyes widened at the sight of her. "Senora Reyes." "2 vehicles, Roberto. Clean papers. Now." Roberto nodded and hurried inside. Isabella turned to Mike, her expression serious. "Wait here, and if anything happens—" She reached into her bag and pulled out the Glock, offering it grip first. Mike stared at the weapon. I've never... Safety's here. Triggers. Here, point and pull if you have to." When he hesitated, she added softly, "Please, I won't let you die because of me." He took the gun, feeling its unfamiliar weight. Sarah's acceptance letter seemed to burn in his pocket, a reminder of all the normal things that had vanished in the past 2 hours. Roberto returned with keys to a battered pickup truck and a sedan. As Isabella handled the transaction, Mike found himself studying her. In the harsh fluorescent lights, he could see the toll this life had taken. The vigilant eyes, the tension in her shoulders, the way she never quite relaxed. "Why are they after you?" he asked when they were alone. Again, Isabella paused in counting out cash. "Because I wanted out, because I knew too much. Because in my world, retirement isn't an option." She met his eyes. "Choose one. They're all true. And what world is that exactly?" "One you don't want to know about." She finished counting and handed him a stack of bills. "Here, enough to get you and Sarah somewhere safe. Start fresh. Take the truck, head east, I'll lead them south." Mike looked at the money, then back at her. "That's your plan? Split up and hope they follow you?" "It's the smart play. It's suicide." Isabella's carefully controlled expression cracked. And for a moment, "Why do you care? You don't know me. I'm the reason you're in this mess. Maybe because I've spent my whole life fixing things. Cars, problems, people's bad days." He gestured at the money. Maybe I'm not ready to walk away from someone who needs fixing more than most." Something flickered in Isabella's eyes. Surprise, vulnerability, or maybe just exhaustion. Before she could respond, Roberto burst out of his office. "Senora." "Reyes, police scanner. They've set up roadblocks. All major highways." Isabella swore softly. "How long?" 20 minutes, maybe less." Mike watched her mask slip back into place, decisions clicking behind her eyes. "Still want to split up?" he asked quietly. She looked at him for a long moment, then at the 2 vehicles. "No," she finally said, "but I hope you're as good at fixing people as you are at fixing cars, Mr. Cooper, because where we're going, we'll need all the repair work we can get." The sound of distant sirens began to drift through the night air. Time was running out, and 2 very different worlds were about to collide in ways neither of them could have imagined. The burner phone buzzed in Isabella's hand as they sped down a narrow dirt road, their headlights off. 5 text messages, each more urgent than the last. Miguel's warnings scrolled across the screen. Cartel movement patterns, police checkpoint, locations. A single line that made her blood run cold. "Javier is running point." She killed the phone and rolled down her window, letting the device fall into the darkness. Mike, at the wheel of the pickup truck, glanced over. "Another phone? Can't be too careful." She pulled a second burner from her bag. "This one's clean. For now." The truck bounced over rough terrain, its suspension groaning. They'd been driving for 2 hours, taking back roads and animal trails, staying off the grid. Mike handled the truck like he'd been born to it, reading the landscape in the dim moonlight. "Your daughter," Isabella said suddenly. "Tell me about her." Mike's hands tightened on the wheel. "Sarah, she's everything, smart as they come. Got accepted to Nevada State, full academic scholarship." Pride crept into his voice. "Just needs help with room and board. That's why I was working late tonight." Isabella pulled out her designer bag, examining the hidden tracking device. "Still active. Good. Let them chase shadows." "You're a good father," she said softly. "I try." He navigated around a deep rut. "Your turn. Tell me about Javier." Isabella stiffened. "How did you said his name when you read the message. Sounded like bad news." She was silent for a long moment, weighing truth against safety. "Javier Ortiz. My mentor, you could say. Taught me everything I know about surviving in my world." She laughed bitterly. "Now he's been sent to kill me. What world is that exactly? Drug running, arms dealing?" "Both. Neither. It's complicated. Try me." Isabella studied his profile in the darkness. This ordinary man with his extraordinary capacity for understanding. Maybe it was time for truth. I ran the Western operations for the Reyes cartel. Everything from San Diego to Seattle. She waited for his reaction, for the judgment or fear. My father built the empire. I was supposed to protect it. Mike absorbed this, his expression unchanged. What changed? I did. She touched the tracking device again. Found out they were moving into human trafficking children. Her voice hardened. I may be a monster, Mr. Cooper, but even monsters have lines they won't cross. So you tried to stop it. I did stop it. Burned 3 major operations to the ground. Got the kids out. She smiled grimly. Cost me everything, but some prices are worth paying. Mike steered around another obstacle. That's why they want you dead. Not because you left, but because you fought back. The cartel doesn't forgive betrayal. Especially not from family. She checked her mirrors. Pure habit. Now, I had a plan. Evidence stored in offshore accounts. Enough to bring down the entire operation. But they moved faster than I expected. The new burner phone chirped. A text from an unknown number. Isabella read it and felt her heart skip. Stop the truck. Mike pulled over. In the distance, a faint glow illuminated the sky. What is it? They found my safe house, the one we were heading to. She showed him the phone screen, a photo of a burning building. They're cutting off our options one by one. Mike's face was grim in the dim light. How many safe houses do you have left? 1 in Utah. But we'll never make it. Not with every cop and cartel soldier between here and there looking for us. The acceptance letter crinkled in Mike's pocket as he shifted. Maybe we don't need a safe house. Maybe what we need is somewhere they'd never think to look. Isabella raised an eyebrow. What did you have in mind? My house. Middle of nowhere. Just outside Vegas. Built by my grandfather. Has a cellar that's not on any property records. He met her eyes. Sometimes the best hiding place is right under their noses. No, absolutely not. I won't put your family at risk. Sarah's smart. She'll understand. And right now it's our best option. Isabella wanted to argue, but exhaustion was setting in. She'd been running for days, surviving on adrenaline and willpower. And something about Mike's quiet confidence made her want to believe. Your daughter's going to hate me, she said finally. Probably, but she's got her mother's temper, burns hot, cools fast. He started the truck again. Besides, she's always saying I need to meet more interesting women. Despite everything, Isabella felt a smile tugging at her lips. I don't think this is what she had in mind. The truck turned west, toward Las Vegas, and whatever fate awaited them. In her bag, the tracking device blinked steadily, leading there. Hunters on a wild chase across the desert, but for how long? The old family photo was worn at the edges. A younger Isabella in a white dress, standing between her father and Javier at her quinceañera. She'd kept it all these years, tucked away in her bag, a reminder of when things were simpler, when family meant something different. We need supplies, Mike said, pulling into an all-night gas station on the outskirts of a small town. The fluorescent lights buzzed in the pre-dawn darkness, the lot empty except for a single semi-truck. Isabella quickly tucked the photo away. Make it fast. We're too exposed here. 5 minutes. He killed the engine. Want anything? Just water and... She hesitated. If they have them, those little cinnamon cookies, the Mexican ones. Mike's eyes softened. Sweet tooth? Childhood habit. She checked her gun. 4 minutes, Mr. Cooper, then we move. He nodded and headed inside. Isabella watched him through the store windows, moving between aisles. So normal, so untouched by the darkness she'd brought into his life. The guilt sat heavy in her stomach. The semi's engine started up, and Isabella tensed. Something wasn't right. The truck pulled out slowly, maneuvering to block the exit. A black SUV rolled in from the other direction. No, no, no! She grabbed her gun and burst out of the truck. Mike! The store's glass front exploded in a hail of gunfire. Mike dropped behind a shelf as bullets shredded packages and shattered bottles. Isabella fired back, forcing the gunman to cover. "Back door!" she screamed. "Now!" Mike scrambled toward the rear of the store as Isabella laid down covering fire. 3 men, cartel soldiers, professionals. They moved with practiced precision, trying to flank her position. A 4th man stepped out of the shadows, tall, silver-haired, wearing an expensive suit. Her heart stopped. "Isabella?" Javier's voice carried across the chaos. "Enough running, mija. Let's talk." "Go to hell!" She fired again, forcing him back. "The mechanic dies first," Javier called out. "That's the price of your stubbornness." Raw fury surged through her. Not Mike. Not another innocent person dying for her mistakes. She broke cover, charging toward the store. Bullets whined past her head as she crashed through the broken window. Mike was pinned down behind the counter, blood running from a cut on his forehead. "Back door's blocked," he gasped. "Stay low." Isabella grabbed his arm. "When I say move, run for the truck. Don't stop, don't look back." "What about you?" She met his eyes. "I'll be right behind you." It was a lie, and they both knew it. But before Mike could argue, Isabella rose and emptied her magazine toward the front lot. The cartel soldiers scattered. "Move!" Mike ran. Isabella reloaded, firing steadily, keeping their heads down. A bullet grazed her shoulder, hot pain blooming. She ignored it. "Isabella!" Javier again, closer now. "The children are safe. I made sure of it myself. Come home." For a split second, she hesitated. Home. Such a simple word for such a complicated thing. An engine roared. Mike had reached the truck. Now or never. Isabella threw her last clip toward the soldiers, the metal clattering on asphalt. As they instinctively turned toward the sound, she sprinted for the truck. Javier stepped into view, raising his gun. Time slowed. Isabella saw his finger tighten on the trigger, saw the betrayal and regret in his eyes. The truck's door flew open. Mike's hand grabbed her shirt, yanking her inside as Javier's bullet punched through the door panel. They fishtailed out of the lot, back tires throwing gravel. "Jesus," Mike breathed, hands shaking on the wheel. "Jesus Christ." Isabella pressed her hand to her bleeding shoulder. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "That was him, Javier." She nodded, fighting waves of dizziness. "Like a second father to me. Now he'll kill us both." Mike's jaw tightened. "Not if I can help it." He reached over and took her hand, squeezing once. "We're in this together now, all the way." Isabella looked at their joined hands, feeling the warmth of his grip. When was the last time someone had touched her with kindness instead of violence? "Together," she whispered, and squeezed back. Behind them, sirens began to wail. The night wasn't over yet. Mike's house sat back from the road, a modest 2-story, surrounded by desert scrub and ancient cottonwoods. The hidden basement entrance was behind a false panel in the garage, his grandfather's paranoid legacy from the Cold War now proving unexpectedly useful. "Dad?" Sarah's voice carried from the front porch as they pulled up. She ran toward them, then stopped short at the sight of Isabella's bloodied shoulder. "Oh my God, what happened? Who is she?" "Inside," Mike said firmly. "Everything off. Phones, computers, anything with a signal." Sarah's eyes darted between them. "Dad, you're scaring me. Please, honey, just do it." They hurried inside. Isabella scanned the house. 2 exits, defensible windows, decent sightlines. Old habits died hard. She caught Sarah watching her make the assessment, the girl's expression a mix of fear and fascination. "First aid kit?" Isabella asked. "Bathroom?" Mike pointed. "Sarah, help her. I'll check the basement." Alone with Sarah in the small bathroom, Isabella felt the girl's unspoken questions like physical weight. She peeled off her ruined designer jacket, wincing. "You're bleeding." Sarah opened the medicine cabinet. "Does this have something to do with why Dad missed my calls?" Isabella met her eyes in the mirror. "Your father is a good man. He stopped to help someone who didn't deserve it. And now, you're both in trouble." Sarah's hands were steady as she cleaned the wound. "Serious trouble, judging by the bullet graze. You're very direct. Mom always said I got that from Dad." She applied antiseptic. Are you going to get him killed? The question hung in the air. Isabella turned to face her fully. I'm trying very hard to prevent that. By hiding in our basement? By keeping him, both of you, alive until I can end this. Sarah finished bandaging the wound in silence. Finally, she said, the college called today about the tuition. I know. Your father was trying to earn extra money when he found me. We'll lose the spot if we can't pay by Friday. Sarah's voice cracked slightly. He's worked so hard to help me get there. Isabella touched the girl's arm. Sarah, look at me. Whatever happens, I promise you'll get to college. I have resources. Ways to... Drug money? Sarah stepped back. Yeah, I figured out what you are. The way you move, the gun, the men chasing you. Her eyes hardened. We're not taking blood money. Sarah. No. Dad might be too nice to say it, but I'm not. You don't get to buy your way out of endangering. My father. Heavy footsteps on the stairs. Mike returning. He took in the tension between them. Basement secure. Food, water, emergency supplies. He touched Sarah's shoulder. You okay, sweetheart? No, none of this is okay. But she leaned into his. Touch. What's the plan? We stay low. Figure out our next move. He looked at Isabella. How long before they track us here? They already have. Isabella moved to the window. They're letting us settle in. Javier likes to play with his food. Sarah made a small sound. Mike pulled her closer. The basement has a tunnel, he said. Dad's survival bunker connects to an old mining shaft. Goes all the way to the hills. Isabella nodded. Good escape route. But they'll be watching for that too. So we're trapped? Sarah's voice was small. No. Isabella straightened. Decision made. You two are going to take the tunnel. I'll create a diversion. Lead them away. Not happening, Mike said firmly. Mr. Cooper. Mike, he interrupted. After everything, I think you can call me Mike. Mike. The name felt intimate somehow. I won't let your family suffer for my choices. Dad, Sarah said suddenly. The storm cellar, the old one before Grandpa built the bunker. Mike's eyes lit up. Under the kitchen, not on any plans. Because Grandma made him fill it in. Sarah turned to Isabella. Except he never did. Just covered it up. It's small, but they'd never know to look for it. Isabella felt a spark of hope. Sarah, you're brilliant. I still don't trust you. But Sarah's voice had softened slightly. Just keep him safe, okay? Before Isabella could respond, headlights swept across the front windows, a car moving slowly past the house. Time's up, Isabella breathed. Move, now! As they hurried toward the kitchen, she caught Mike watching, her with an unreadable expression. What? Nothing, he said softly. Just, you're not what I expected. Oh, and what did you expect? He smiled slightly. Someone less worth saving. The USB drive felt heavy in Isabella's hand as she sat in the cramped storm cellar, listening to the sounds of cars passing on the road above. Mike had insisted on taking first watch upstairs, while Sarah monitored police frequencies on an ancient ham radio in the basement. Everything that could destroy the cartel, bank records, shipping routes, corrupt officials, all contained in this tiny piece of plastic and metal. She'd killed 3 men protecting it. Now she wondered if it was worth the cost. The cellar door creaked. Mike descended the narrow stairs with 2 cups of coffee. Sarah's sleeping, he said, handing her a cup. Finally. She's worried about you, you know. Trying not to show it, but I know my daughter. Isabella smiled faintly. She's stronger than she thinks. Like her father. The USB. Mike nodded at her hand. That's what they really want, isn't it? Yes. She turned it over, watching it catch the dim light. Enough evidence to bring down an empire, to make things right. But people who try to make things right usually end up dead. She met his eyes. Like my mother. Mike settled beside her on an old crate, their shoulders touching in the narrow space. Tell me. Isabella took a deep breath. She was a prosecutor in Mexico City, started looking into cartel finances. My father, her voice caught. He gave the order himself, said it was business, nothing personal. I was 16. Jesus, Isabella. I promised myself I'd never be like him. But somehow I ended up running his operations, telling myself I was different, better. She laughed bitterly, until I found out about the children. The trafficking ring you shut down. She nodded. 36 kids. Youngest was 9, being shipped north like cargo. Her hand tightened on the USB. I couldn't let it happen. Not in my territory, not in my mother's name. So you saved them, and condemned you and Sarah in the process. She turned to face him. I should never have let you help me on that highway. Hey, Mike's hand found hers in the darkness. Some choices we don't get to make. Sometimes life just happens. The touch of his calloused fingers sent warmth through her chest. When was the last time someone had held her hand? Just held it, asking nothing in return. Mike, her voice, was barely a whisper. I'm not a good person. Good people don't always make good choices. His thumb traced circles on her palm. But bad people don't risk everything to save children. She looked up, finding his face inches from hers. The air seemed to thicken. If we survive this, she said softly, Sarah's college is taken care of. I have accounts they can't touch. Clean money from legitimate businesses. Isabella, please, let me do this one good thing. His free hand came up to touch her cheek, and she leaned into it without thinking. His eyes were kind in the dim light, full of something she didn't dare name. You're already doing good things, he murmured. The distance between them shortened, their breath mingling. Isabella felt her walls crumbling, years of carefully maintained control dissolving in the warmth of his gaze. A floorboard creaked above them. They jerked apart as Sarah's voice came through the radio. Dad, we've got company. 3 SUVs, no lights, coming up the access road. Mike was already moving. How long? 2 minutes, maybe less. Isabella grabbed her gun, checking the magazine. The tunnel, you and Sarah now. Not without you. Mike. He caught her arm, pulling her close. Before she could protest, his lips found hers in a fierce, desperate kiss that stole her breath. Together, he said as they broke apart. Remember? Above them, gravel crunched under heavy tires. Time was up. Sarah's voice crackled through the radio again. Dad? Isabella? I found something, in Grandpa's files, about the mining tunnels. There might be another way. Isabella touched her lips, still tingling from the kiss, and made a decision. She pressed the USB into Mike's hand. Get this to the FBI field office in Las Vegas. Agent Diana Chen. She's been building a case for months. She kissed him again, quickly. And when this is over, maybe we can... We will, he said firmly. This isn't goodbye. But they both heard the uncertainty in his voice as footsteps approached the house. The old police scanner crackled with static in Sarah's hands as she huddled in the basement, monitoring local frequencies. Above, footsteps creaked on the porch, measured professional movements that spoke of military training. They're surrounding the house, she whispered into the radio. At least 8 men. In the storm cellar, Mike and Isabella exchanged glances. They'd killed the power to the house minutes ago, plunging everything into darkness. Sarah, Isabella's voice was steady. Through the radio, remember what I told you about the silent alarm? Yes, trip it if I see anyone coming down here. Good girl. Isabella checked her weapon one last time. Stay quiet, stay hidden. Mike touched the USB drive in his pocket, now wrapped in waterproof plastic. We need to get to the tunnel entrance. Kitchen to garage, Isabella murmured. 20 feet of exposed space. A window shattered somewhere upstairs. Mike tensed, but Isabella's hand on his arm kept him still. Wait for it, she breathed. More breaking glass, heavy boots on hardwood. They were searching systematically, room by room. Then a familiar voice rang out. Isabella, let's not make this messier than it needs to be. Javier, the tunnel's compromised, Isabella whispered. He knows my tactics too well. Then we use the mining shaft Sarah found. If it exists. It exists. Mike's voice held certainty. Dad used to talk about it. Came up in the hills behind the Peterson place. Through the radio, Sarah's voice shook slightly. 3 men just past the kitchen. They're heading toward the garage. Isabella's grip tightened on her gun. Mike, if this goes bad, it won't. Listen to me. Her eyes found his in the darkness. The evidence isn't just on the USB. There's a safety deposit box in Vegas. First Century Bank, downtown branch. Keys hidden in my necklace. She touched the thin gold chain. Sarah's future, your protection, everything you need. Mike caught her hand. Stop talking like you're not making it out of here. Above them, something heavy hit the floor. A man cried out in pain. They're getting sloppy. Isabella smiled grimly. Javier hates that. As if on cue, Javier's voice boomed again. The mechanic's daughter is here somewhere, Isabella. Think about that. Think about what happens to her if you don't cooperate. Mike started to rise, fury in his eyes, but Isabella pulled him back. He's baiting us, she whispered. Sarah's safe. We stick to the plan. The radio crackled. Dad? Sarah's voice was barely audible. I found Grandpa's map. The shaft entrance is behind the water heater. There's a false panel. Good work, sweetheart. Mike clicked the radio. Stay put. We're coming to you. Isabella pressed her ear to the cellar door. The footsteps were moving away toward the back of the house. Now, she breathed, fast and quiet. They eased the door open. The kitchen was pitch black, but Isabella moved through it like a ghost, Mike close behind. Years of operating in the shadows had taught her to feel spaces rather than see them. They were halfway to the basement door when a floorboard creaked behind them. Mi hija. Javier's voice was soft, almost sad. Always running. Isabella spun, pushing Mike aside as a gun fired. Pain exploded in her left arm, but she was already moving, muscle memory taking over. Her own weapon barked twice. Javier grunted, staggering back. You've gotten faster. You taught me well. Isabella kept her gun trained on him. Mike, go. Get to Sarah. Isabella, go. Mike hesitated for a split second, then disappeared through the basement door. Isabella circled slowly, keeping Javier in her sights. The children, he said quietly. I would have protected them, like you protected my mother. His face tightened. That was business. This is business too. Isabella's voice was ice. Walk away, Javier. Last chance. He smiled, blood seeping through his expensive suit. You know I can't do that, mija. From somewhere in the house, voices shouted in Spanish. Running feet approached. Then I'm sorry, Isabella whispered and shot out the window behind him. Glass exploded outward. In the confusion, she dove for the basement door, slamming it behind her. The lock wouldn't hold them long, but it didn't need to. She practically flew down the stairs, finding Mike and Sarah by the water heater. The false panel was already open, revealing a dark passage beyond. Isabella, Sarah gasped. You're hit again. Just a graze. She pushed them toward the tunnel. Move, now. Above, the basement door splintered under heavy blows. Time was running out. Sarah's mother's locket caught the beam of their single flashlight as they moved through the mining tunnel, its silver surface dulled by years of wear. Mike had given it to her on her 16th birthday, a piece of the mother she barely remembered. Now she clutched it like a lifeline as they fled through the darkness. The tunnel splits ahead, Sarah whispered, consulting her grandfather's crude map. Left goes to the Peterson place, right heads up into the hills. Behind them, voices echoed. Off the stone walls, Javier's men had found the entrance. Isabella pressed her hand against her bleeding arm. They'll expect us to go for help. Take the right fork. Her voice was weaker than before. Mike moved closer, supporting her weight. You need a doctor. I need you both alive. She stumbled slightly. The USB can wait. Mike's tone left. No room for argument. Sarah, how far to the surface? Quarter mile, maybe less, but Dad, Sarah hesitated. The map shows cave-ins. Grandpa marked them, but it's old. Could be more. A gunshot cracked through the tunnel. Everyone froze. That was a warning, Isabella said. Javier's playing with us again. Mike made a decision. Sarah, take the map. Head right, find the exit. Dad, no. Now, sweetheart. He pressed the USB drive into her hand. Get to Agent Chen. We'll lead them left. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. You'll die, mi amor. Isabella touched the girl's cheek. Your father's too stubborn to die, and She smiled faintly. I've gotten quite attached to him. Another shot, closer. Sarah threw her arms around them both, then disappeared down the right tunnel, the flashlight beam fading with her. In the darkness, Mike found Isabella's hand. Ready? No, she admitted, but when has that ever stopped us? They moved left, using the wall as a guide. Behind them, footsteps and voices grew louder. Isabella's breathing was labored, her hand hot with fever in Mike's grip. Talk to me, he said softly. Stay with me. About what? Anything. Tell me what you want. After this is over. She was quiet for a moment. Peace, a small house somewhere quiet, maybe someone to share it with. Yeah? He helped her over a fallen beam. Someone who fixes cars? Someone who fixes people. Her voice cracked slightly, even when they don't deserve it. Oh, light appeared behind them, voices calling in Spanish. They're here! Isabella, stop this madness! Javier's voice carried a note of desperation now. The mighty cartel enforcer, reduced to chasing shadows in a tunnel. Mike and Isabella pressed against the wall, letting the darkness swallow them. The beam of light swept past, illuminating the tunnel ahead, and the cave-in blocking it completely. Trapped. Mihija. Javier emerged from the darkness, two armed men beside him. Enough. Isabella straightened, stepping away from Mike. It was enough a long time ago, Javier. You just couldn't see it. The evidence? Javier's gun glinted in the flashlight. Beam. Where is it? Gone, like your empire will be. The old enforcer's face hardened. The children were never in danger. I gave them to good families, clean lives. You sold them, Isabella's voice cracked like a whip, like cattle. I saved them from worse fates. Javier's control finally broke. You think you're the only one trying to do good? I've spent decades choosing the lesser evil. There's always a choice, Mike said quietly. Javier's gun swung toward him. The mechanic speaks of choices? A man who lives in a world of black and white, good and bad. He laughed bitterly. You know nothing of our world. I know Isabella chose to save those kids. Mike's voice was steady. I know she chose to fight, even when running was easier. And I know you're choosing right now. Something flickered in Javier's eyes. Behind him, a rumble shook the tunnel. Distant explosions. Sarah. She'd found the exit. Isabella moved like lightning, shoving Mike aside as she fired. Javier's men went down, but the old enforcer was faster. His bullet took her in the shoulder, spinning her around. No! Mike caught her as she fell. More explosions, closer now. The tunnel groaned ominously. Javier stood over them, gun raised. Mihija, he whispered. I never wanted this. Isabella looked up at him, blood staining her shirt. Then make a different choice. The tunnel shuddered again. Rocks began to fall. And Javier, the man who had helped raise her, the killer who had loved her like a daughter, made his choice. The escape route map trembled in Isabella's hands as she studied it by flashlight, her injured shoulder wrapped in Mike's torn shirt. They'd found temporary shelter in an abandoned mining office 1/2 mile from the tunnel entrance. Outside, dawn was breaking over the Nevada desert. Javier's choice still echoed in her mind. The way he'd turned his gun on his own men, buying them precious seconds to escape as the tunnel collapsed. His last words, "Live better than we did," haunted her. Sarah made it, Mike said, returning. From his lookout position. Got a message through on the emergency radio. She's with Agent Chen. Isabella's hands tightened on the map. The USB? Safe. They're moving on the evidence now. He knelt beside her, checking her bandage. You're burning up. I've had worse. That's not comforting. His touch lingered on her skin. We need to get you to a hospital. Not yet. She spread the map wider. Javier's dead, but the cartel won't stop. They'll go after Sarah to draw us out. Mike's jaw tightened. Let them try. No. Isabella caught his hand. I won't let them hurt either of you. There's a way to end this. But she met his eyes. You're not going to like it. I already don't like it. She managed a weak smile. There's a compound, just over the border. Their main operations center. Everything runs through there. Money, orders, connections. Isabella. The tunnels were just the beginning. I have explosives cached at 3 sites, enough to bring Down their whole empire. Mike stared at her. You're talking about a suicide mission. I'm talking about finishing what I started. She squeezed his hand. The FBI has the evidence. Now they need chaos, confusion. The cartel tearing itself apart trying to find a traitor that doesn't exist. Because you'll be dead. His voice was raw. That's your plan? Sacrifice yourself? To keep you safe, to give Sarah her future back. She touched his face. To make something right. Finally. No, he pulled her closer, careful of her injury. We find another way. There is no other way. As long as I'm alive, they'll hunt us, hunt you. Then we'll run. I'm tired of running. She leaned into him, allowing herself this moment of weakness. Tired of watching people I love suffer for my sins. Mike went still. Love? Isabella closed her eyes. When had it happened? Between the desert highway and this moment, somehow, this ordinary man with his extraordinary heart had become everything. See, she whispered. Love. He kissed her then, gentle but fierce, tasting of dust and copper and desperate hope. Then we do this together, he said against her lips. All of us. Mike! Sarah's already inside the FBI. She can coordinate with Agent Chen, get us satellite coverage, entry points. His eyes blazed with determination. I spent 15 years learning every machine in that garage. Give me 2 hours with their security system. It's too dangerous, more dangerous than letting you die alone. He shook his head. Not happening. Isabella looked at him. This man who fixed broken things, who saw good in darkness, who loved with a fierceness that took her breath away. Okay, she whispered. Together. She pulled the map closer, pointing to the compound's location. We'll need supplies, weapons, away past the border patrol. Sarah says Chen can help with that. Mike's phone buzzed. A burner, courtesy of the FBI. They're moving us tonight, safe house in the hills. Isabella nodded, already planning. We go. In through the water treatment plant, their weak point. Security's lighter, and I know the patrol patterns. How many men? 20, maybe 30 professional mercenaries. Against 3 of us. Mike's smile was grim. Almost seems unfair. Despite everything, Isabella laughed. To them, maybe. Her expression sobered. But if anything happens, he silenced her with another kiss. Together, he reminded her, all the way. Outside, a helicopter thundered past, FBI, heading toward the collapsed tunnel. Soon they'd have to move to set their desperate plan in motion. But for now, in this dusty mining office with dawn painting, the walls gold, Isabella let herself believe in something she'd thought died with her mother, the possibility of a future worth fighting for, worth living for. The wedding ring glinted on the chain around Isabella's neck. Her mother's last gift, now holding a key that could destroy an empire. She tucked it beneath her tactical vest as she crouched behind the water treatment plant's outer wall. Mike at her side. Sarah. Status? His voice was barely a whisper into the radio. Satellite shows minimal movement, their daughter replied from the FBI command center. 2 guards at the north gate, 3 patrolling the perimeter. Agent Chen's team is in position. Isabella checked her watch. 3 minutes until shift change. Remember, she breathed, we just need to reach the server room, plant the charges. The FBI handles the rest. Mike's hand found hers in the darkness. Just another car that needs fixing, right? She smiled despite herself. With considerably more bullets. Dad, Sarah's voice crackled. Incoming vehicle. Looks like the shift change is early. Isabella tensed. They're changing patterns. Javier taught them well. Plan B? Mike asked. Plan B. They moved fast, using the incoming truck's headlights as cover to slip through the gate. Isabella's shoulder burned with every movement, but adrenaline kept her going. The familiar weight of her gun offered cold comfort. Inside the compound, darkness and shadows played tricks. Every corner could hide death, every window a sniper's nest. But Isabella had studied these grounds through satellite photos until she could walk them blindfolded. Left, she whispered. Maintenance door. Mike produced a small device, his own creation. built from garage tools and determination. The electronic lock sparked quietly, then clicked open. "Remind me never to doubt. Your mechanical skills," Isabella murmured. "Save it for our second date." They slipped inside into the heart of the beast. The corridor stretched ahead, sterile and white under fluorescent lights. "Two heat signatures approaching," Sarah warned. "Armed guards." Isabella pulled Mike into a utility closet, their bodies pressed close in the tight space. Footsteps passed, voices speaking rapid Spanish about soccer scores and dinner plans, normal people doing monstrous work. "Clear," Sarah said. They moved again. Each step brought them closer to the server room, and to either salvation or destruction. "Isabella," Mike caught her arm. "Your shoulder's bleeding again." "Doesn't matter. It matters to me." She met his eyes, saw the fear he was trying to hide. "Hey, I promised you a future, remember? A quiet house somewhere, with someone who fixes cars, with someone who fixes everything." She touched his cheek. "I intend to keep that promise." An alarm blared suddenly, making them both jump. "Sarah," Mike's voice was tense. "Not you. Other side of the compound. Some kind of fight in the barracks." Isabella's eyes widened. "The distraction. Chen's team is early." "Guards are moving to respond," Sarah reported. "Your path to the server room is clear," but gunfire erupted somewhere in the building, then an explosion that shook the walls. "Move!" Isabella pushed Mike forward. "Now!" They ran, no longer bothering with stealth. The server room door loomed. Ahead, their final target. Mike's device made short work of the lock, but as they burst inside, Isabella knew something was wrong. The room was dark, servers silent. "Sarah," she breathed, "what are we looking at?" Wait, power readings are all wrong. Dad, get out of there!" Too late. Lights blazed on, temporarily blinding them. When Isabella's vision cleared, her blood ran cold. The servers were gone. In their place stood 3 men with automatic weapons, and behind them, "Mama," Isabella whispered. Maria Reyes stepped forward, elegant as ever in her designer suit. The woman Isabella had thought dead for 20 years smiled like a shark scenting blood. "Welcome home, mihija." She gestured to the gunman. "I believe you've brought me something that belongs to your father." Behind Isabella, Mike shifted closer, protective despite the impossible odds. "Sarah," he subvocalized into his radio, "Plan C, now." Isabella's hand found his, squeezing once. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. The storm had finally broken. Sarah's charm bracelet clinked softly as Isabella's mother circled them, each charm representing a moment in the young girl's life. The bracelet now rested on Sarah's wrist at the FBI command center, where she watched in horror through satellite feeds as her father and Isabella faced what seemed impossible. 20 years, Maria Reyes mused, her heels clicking on the concrete floor. 20 years of letting you think I was dead, watching you become everything I pretended to fight against. She stopped in front of Isabella. "And now here you are, trying to destroy what I built." "What you built?" Isabella's voice shook. "The trafficking, the drugs, the murders." "I built safety," Maria snapped. "Power. In this world you're either the predator or the prey. I chose to be the predator." "You chose wrong." Isabella's hand tightened on her weapon. "The prosecutor I mourned, the mother I loved, she died long before I thought she did." Mike watched the exchange, his mind racing. Through his earpiece, he could hear Sarah coordinating with Agent Chen, but they all knew help wouldn't arrive in time. "The USB," Maria demanded, "and the bank accounts, all of it now." "Or what?" Isabella laughed bitterly. "You'll kill me? Like you killed all those other obstacles in your way?" "No, mihija." Maria's smile turned cruel. "I'll kill him." She nodded to her men, who trained their weapons on Mike. "Slowly, and you'll watch." Isabella moved to stand in front of Mike, but he caught her arm. "No," he said softly. "Together, remember?" "How sweet," Maria sneered. "The mechanic and the cartel princess. Did you really think you could save her, Mr. Cooper? Fix her like one of your broken cars?" He already has, Isabella said. He showed me there's always a choice. She reached for the chain around her neck, her mother's wedding ring, the key to everything. Last chance, Isabella, Maria warned. His life for the evidence. Isabella met Mike's eyes. In that moment, an entire conversation passed between them without words. Trust, love, understanding. Sarah, Mike whispered into his radio. Execute Plan C, now. Dad, do it, sweetheart. We love you. Isabella yanked the chain from her neck and threw it at her mother's feet. At the same moment, Mike pulled her down as the ceiling exploded. The charges they'd planted during their approach, their real mission, detonated in sequence. The building's support structures groaned. Maria screamed orders as concrete began to rain down. Her men opened fire blindly through the chaos. The server room, Isabella shouted over the din. The real one's below us. They crawled through smoke and debris, bullets whining overhead. Mike's shoulder erupted in pain as a round found him, but he kept moving. Here! Isabella pulled him toward a hidden stairwell. Above them, Maria's voice rose in fury. Kill them! Kill them both! The stairs led to a reinforced door. Beyond it lay the cartel's true heart, servers humming with secrets and blood money. Sarah! Mike gasped, pressing his hand to his wound. Status? FBI's 5 minutes out. Mom, she's mobilizing everyone. You're about to have the whole compound on you. Isabella pulled out the last of her charges. We only need 3 minutes. She worked quickly, placing explosives while Mike covered the stairs. His vision was starting to blur from blood loss. Isabella, he said softly, if this don't. She finished the last charge. We're getting out. Both of us. Footsteps thundered down the stairs. Maria's voice carried ahead of them. Mihika, you can't destroy everything. You'll die here with him. Isabella took Mike's hand, pulling him behind a server bank. Above, the building continued to collapse in slow motion. Maybe, she called back, but I choose how. She pressed the detonator. The world turned to fire and sound. Through the roar, Mike felt Isabella's arms around him, shielding him as best she could. The last thing he heard was Sarah's voice in his earpiece. Cavalry's here, Dad. Hold on. Just hold on. Then darkness took him, and the sacrifice was made. The witness protection paperwork lay unsigned on the hospital table, its government seals stark against the white surface. Sarah sat between 2 beds in the ICU, her father on one side, Isabella on the other, both still unconscious 3 days after the explosion. Agent Chen stood at the window, watching the sunrise over Las Vegas. The cartel's finished, she said quietly. Maria Reyes is dead. Their entire network is in chaos. Your father and Isabella, they did the impossible. Sarah touched the charm, bracelet on her wrist. But at what cost? The machines beeped steadily, monitoring vital signs, measuring the price of redemption in blood and bandages. Mike's shoulder wound had required 2 surgeries. Isabella's injuries were even worse. The doctors weren't sure she'd walk again. They knew the risks, Chen said. They chose each other, Sarah interrupted. And now I might lose them both. Movement caught her eye. Isabella's hand twitched, then slowly reached across the space between beds. Without opening her eyes, she whispered one word. Mike. Sarah took her hand. He's here. You're both here. You're safe. Isabella's eyes fluttered open, focusing gradually. Sarah, the evidence. Secure. The FBI has everything. She squeezed Isabella's hand. The cartel's done. You did it. Your mother. Chen stepped forward. We found her in the rubble. I'm sorry. Isabella turned her face away, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. 20 years of mourning a lie, only to lose the truth in fire and vengeance. The children, she asked finally, all identified, being reunited with their families. Chen smiled slightly. You kept your promise. A groan from the other bed drew their attention. Mike was stirring, his hand reaching out just as Isabella's had. Bella, I'm here. Her voice gained strength. We're both here. Sarah helped her father focus, adjusting his bed so he could see Isabella. Their eyes met across the space between them, 1,000 words passing in silence. "You look terrible," Isabella managed. Mike's laugh turned into a cough. "You should see the other guys. Dead, mostly." Chen's voice was dry. "The compound's a total loss, along with about $2 billion in cartel assets." Sarah. Mike reached for his daughter's hand. "You okay, sweetheart? Am I okay?" She fought back tears. "You two nearly died. I watched it all happen, listened to everything, and I couldn't—" "Hey," Isabella caught her other hand. "You saved us. You and Agent Chen. The extraction team never would have found us in time without your coordination." "But your legs will heal," Isabella said firmly. "The doctors say with therapy, I might even dance at your college graduation." Mike's eyes softened. "Speaking of college—" "Already handled," Chen interrupted. "Full ride, room and board. Turns out the FBI has some pull at Nevada State." She gestured to the witness protection papers. "But first, we need to discuss your future." "No," Isabella's voice was firm. "Ms. Reyes, no more running, no more hiding." She met Mike's eyes again. "I want a real life. A real home." "It's risky," Chen warned. "There are still cartel fragments out there. Let them come." Mike's voice was steady. "We've faced worse." Sarah looked between them. Her father, the man who'd raised her with quiet strength and endless love, and Isabella, the woman who'd fought her way from darkness to light. "We'll need a bigger house," she said finally. "The basement's too crowded. For all of us." Isabella laughed, then winced at the pain. "I know a few real estate agents who owe me favors, all legitimate," she added quickly, seeing Chen's expression. "And I can fix anything that needs work," Mike added, "once I can lift a wrench again." Chen sighed, but there was a smile tugging at her lips. "I'll assign a protection detail, discreet, and you'll need to check in regularly." "Monthly," Isabella agreed. "Over dinner. You like Mexican food?" The agent shook her head, gathering the witness protection papers. "I'll amend the arrangements, but for now—" She headed for the door. "I believe you three have some healing to do." When she was gone, Sarah settled between the beds again, holding both their hands. "You really want this?" she asked Isabella. "A normal life? Normal is overrated," Isabella smiled. "I want this life, with both of you." Mike squeezed Sarah's hand. "Together. Together," Isabella and Sarah answered in unison. Outside, the Las Vegas sun climbed higher, painting the world in shades of gold and promise. The keys to their new house jingled in Sarah's hand as she helped Isabella up the wheelchair ramp. 6 weeks had passed since the explosion, and the desert spring was painting the mountains with patches of unexpected green. "I still think the security system needs upgrading," Isabella said, eyeing the perimeter. "Old habits died hard." "Already handled." Mike followed with her bags, his arm finally out of its sling. "Motion sensors, cameras, the works. Installed them myself last week." The house was a sprawling ranch style, set back from the road with clear sightlines in all directions. A compromise between Isabella's paranoia and Mike's desire for a real home. A massive garage dominated one side, already filled with his tools and half-rebuilt engines. "Home sweet home." Sarah pushed Isabella's wheelchair into the open-plan living room. "At least until I leave for college next month." Isabella caught her hand. "You know you don't have to go right away. After everything—" "No way!" Sarah's voice was firm. "You two didn't blow up a cartel compound so I could delay my education." Mike set down the bags, watching them with a soft smile. The way they'd bonded over the past weeks still amazed him. His daughter and the woman who'd turned their world upside down, now inseparable. "Besides," Sarah continued, "someone needs to make sure you actually do your physical therapy instead of trying to rush things." Isabella grimaced. The doctors were optimistic about her recovery, but it was a slow process. Every day was a battle between her iron will and her body's limitations. "I'm not rushing," she protested. I'm not good at being still." Mike moved behind her wheelchair, resting his hands on her shoulders. Good thing you've got someone to keep you in line, then. She tilted her head back to look at him. Someone who fixes things? Someone who loves you. Sarah made a gagging noise. And that's my cue to check out my new room. Try not to be too gross while I'm gone. When she was gone, Mike knelt beside Isabella's chair. Having second thoughts? About this? She gestured to the house, to him, to their new life. No, about whether I deserve it. She trailed off. Hey! He took her hands. You saved those kids. You brought down an empire of corruption. You chose to be better, with help. She squeezed his fingers. I never thought I'd have this. A home, a family, a future that isn't built on blood money. Speaking of money, Mike hesitated. The garage's loan. It's been paid off. Isabella looked away. The bank owed me a favor. Isabella, clean money, she insisted. From legitimate businesses. I promised Sarah, remember, no more blood money. He touched her cheek, turning her face back to his. Thank you. Just doing my part to fix things. Her smile turned mischievous. Besides, I have plans for that garage. Oh? Thought maybe we could run it together. Once I'm back on my feet. She gestured to the wheelchair. Literally. Mike stared at her. You want to work on cars? I want to work with you. Build something real. Her voice softened. Create instead of destroy. He kissed her then, gentle, but full of promise. When they broke apart, she whispered against his lips, Think you can teach an old cartel boss new tricks? I think, he said seriously, that you can do anything you set your mind to, including learning proper carburetor maintenance. Does this mean I get an employee discount on repairs? No, but you do get unlimited access to the mechanic. From upstairs, Sarah's voice carried down. I can hear you being disgusting. Some of us are trying to unpack up here. They laughed, the sound echoing through their new home. A sound that would have seemed impossible just months ago on that dark desert highway. Outside, an FBI surveillance car rolled past, Chen's promised protection detail maintaining their discreet watch. But for the first time in her life, Isabella didn't feel trapped by the eyes on her. She felt safe. Sarah's college acceptance letter had been framed, Mike's idea, and now hung in the living room beside Isabella's first physical therapy milestone photo. 2 victories, different but equally important to their newly formed family. You're favoring. Your left side again, Sarah called out from the back porch, watching Isabella navigate the parallel bars they'd set up in the garden. Dad, tell her she's cheating. Mike looked up from the engine he was rebuilding nearby. He'd moved his work outside to be closer to Isabella's therapy sessions, though he claimed it was just for the light. I'm not getting involved, he said, hiding a smile. Last time I tried to correct her form, I slept on the couch. Because you're too gentle with me, Isabella grunted, forcing her right leg to take more weight. Sarah actually pushes. That's because Dad's still afraid you'll break. Sarah moved to spot her. I know better. Isabella paused, sweat beading on her forehead. I survived 20 years in a cartel, but your father thinks a little physical, and therapy will kill me. No, Mike set down his wrench. I just remember how close we came to losing you in that explosion. Forgive me for being careful with my second chance. The depth of feeling in his voice made Isabella's breath catch. She reached for him, and he was there instantly, supporting her weight as she stepped away from the bars. See? Sarah rolled her eyes. This is why we're not making progress. You're supposed to be her physical therapist, Dad, not her knight in shining armor. I don't know. Isabella leaned into Mike's embrace. The armor's kind of working for me. Gross, I'm going to pack more boxes. Sarah headed inside, but not before Isabella caught her quick smile. She's worried about leaving, Isabella said softly once they were alone. I know. Mike helped her to the porch swing, her favorite spot for rest between sessions. Keeps finding reasons to delay. Yesterday she was concerned about my cooking skills. To be fair, your cooking is concerning. He laughed, settling beside her. Good thing you're here to save us from my culinary disasters. Good thing, she echoed, resting her head on his shoulder. Mike, I've been thinking about Sarah's tuition. It's covered. Chen made sure. I know, but I want to set up a trust for her future, for any dreams she wants to pursue. She took his hand. Clean money from the legitimate businesses I saved. Let me do this for her. For us. Mike was quiet. For a moment, running his thumb over her knuckles. You don't have to buy your way into this family, Isabella. You're already part of it. I know, but I want to build something good from everything that happened. Transform it, like you taught me. From inside, they heard Sarah's phone ring, her daily check-in with Agent Chen. Another reminder that their normal life came with conditions. Speaking of transformations, Mike said carefully, I've been meaning to ask you something. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Isabella's breath caught. I was going to wait, do something more romantic, but he opened the box, revealing a simple but elegant ring. Sarah helped me pick it out, said you'd prefer practical to flashy. Mike, you don't have to answer now. I know this is all still new, and we're still healing, and Isabella silenced him with a kiss. When they broke apart, she was smiling through tears. Yes, she whispered. Yes to all of it. The family, the future, the ridiculously domestic life with cars and college visits and cooking lessons. He slipped the ring onto her finger just as Sarah stepped back outside. Finally! She rushed to hug them both. I was wondering when you'd get around to making it official. Isabella looked between them. You knew about this. Please, Sarah grinned. Who do you think helped him choose the right moment? Dad's hopeless at timing. Hey, Mike protested, but he was smiling too. They sat together on the porch swing, a family bound by choice rather than blood, watching the desert sunset paint the sky in shades of promise. The engagement ring caught the morning light as Isabella gripped the garage's front counter, taking her first, unassisted steps in public. Mike hovered nearby, fighting the urge to reach for her, while Sarah filmed the moment on her phone. Agent, Chen's going to love this update, Sarah said, grinning. Her star witness, now walking and running a legitimate business. Speaking of business, Isabella straightened, triumphant in her success. Your father finally agreed to let me modernize the booking system. Only because you promised not to hack it, Mike called from beneath a customer's car. It was one time, Isabella protested, and I was just showing you the security vulnerabilities. Their easy banter filled the garage, a testament to how far they'd come. The walls were now lined with both automotive certificates and family photos, including one of all three of them at Sarah's early college orientation. The bell chimed as a customer entered. Isabella squared her shoulders, ready for another milestone. Her first solo client interaction. Welcome to Cooper and Reyes Auto Repair, she said, pride evident in her voice. The name change had been Mike's engagement gift to her, a public declaration of their partnership in all things. The customer, an elderly woman with kind eyes, smiled. Dear, you look exactly like someone I used to know. She squinted at Isabella. Maria Reyes's daughter, perhaps. Isabella's hand tightened on the counter. Mike rolled out from under the car, ready to intervene, but Isabella just smiled. Now I'm someone new. She gestured to the price board behind her. What can we help you with today? The woman's car needed a simple oil change. As Mike worked, Isabella handled the paperwork with growing confidence, her past and present merging into something unexpected, but beautiful. You did good, Sarah said later, helping close up shop, both with the walking and the customer service. Your father's a good teacher. Isabella locked the cash register. In all things. Gross, but Sarah hugged her impulsively. I'm going to miss this when I leave for college. We'll visit every weekend, Isabella promised, whether you want us to or not. With care packages, Mike added, emerging from the back office, and emergency repair services for whatever clunker you end up buying. And a very discreet FBI. Protection detail, Isabella finished. They all laughed, but the undertone of seriousness remained. Some prices of their happiness were non-negotiable. Sarah checked her phone. Chen's team did their final sweep of the campus yesterday. My dorm's officially declared secure. And your roommate? Isabella tried to sound casual. Thoroughly vetted. Sarah rolled her eyes. Though I doubt Jennifer from Wisconsin is secretly a cartel assassin. Mike wrapped an arm around Isabella's waist, feeling her tension. Hey, she'll be safe. We all will be. Isabella leaned into him. I know. I never thought I'd have so much to lose, so much to protect. You're not alone in that anymore, he reminded her. Sarah made a show of covering her ears. If you two are going to get mushy again, I'm leaving. Actually, Isabella straightened. There's something we wanted to discuss with you. She nodded to Mike, who produced an envelope from his pocket. Sarah opened it cautiously. A deed? Her eyes widened as she read. You bought Grandpa's old property? The one with the mining tunnels? We thought, Isabella said carefully, that it might make a good wedding venue, if you're okay with that. Sarah's face softened. You want to get married where it all happened, where you both nearly died, where we chose each other, Mike corrected, where we became a family. Besides, Isabella added, the tunnels are mostly collapsed now. Much harder for uninvited guests to crash the party. Sarah looked between them. Her father, who had raised her with quiet strength and endless love, and the woman who had brought danger into their lives, but also a fierce, protective kind of joy. One condition, she said finally. Name it. I get to help plan everything. She grinned. Someone has to make sure you don't turn it into a tactical operation disguised as a wedding. Isabella laughed, the sound free and unguarded. Deal. Outside, the desert sun was setting, painting the garage's new sign in shades of gold. Cooper and Reyes Auto Repair. A simple dream, built from the ashes of an empire. A former cartel princess, a mechanic with a heart too big for his own good, and the daughter who had helped them find their way to each other. Family, in all its unexpected forms. The family portrait hung prominently in their living room. Isabella in white, Mike in his best suit, and Sarah between them, all laughing at some forgotten joke during their wedding reception. 1 year had transformed their lives in ways none of them could have imagined that night on a dark desert highway. Mom, Dad, Sarah's voice carried from the driveway. I'm home. Isabella looked up from her physical therapy exercises, still getting used to the title. She'd graduated from parallel bars to walking unassisted, though dance lessons for the wedding had almost derailed her recovery. Mike emerged from the garage, wiping his hands on a shop rag. Thought your finals didn't end until next week. Finished. Early. Sarah hugged them both. Couldn't miss your anniversary. Isabella exchanged glances with Mike. Their actual anniversary wasn't for 3 more days, which meant Sarah had something planned. Agent Chen helped, she admitted, seeing their looks. Said it was worth bending the check-in protocols for. As if on cue, a familiar black SUV rolled past their house, the FBI's ever-present protection detail, now more family friends than guards. Speaking of Chen, Sarah continued, she brought you something. She pulled out an envelope. Official. Case closure documents. The last cartel fragments have been rounded up. Isabella took the envelope with trembling hands. It's really over? As over as it gets. Sarah smiled. You're officially just a boring auto shop owner now. Hey, Mike protested. We're not boring. Just last week we had that exciting transmission replacement. They laughed, the sound echoing through their home, a sound that still amazed Isabella. A year ago, she'd forgotten how to laugh freely. Actually, Sarah fidgeted slightly, there's something else. I might have been helping Agent Chen with some consulting work. Analysis, pattern recognition, that kind of thing. Isabella's eyebrows shot up. You're working with the FBI. Part-time between classes. Turns out growing up with a mechanic dad gives you a knack for solving puzzles. And having a former cartel boss for a stepmom teaches you a lot about organizational structures. Mike wrapped an arm around Isabella, steadying her as emotions played across her face. Are you okay with this? Sarah asked softly. Me using what? I learned from everything? Isabella pulled her close. I'm proud of you for taking something dark and making it into light. That's all I ever wanted. Besides, Mike added, Someone has to keep Chen on her toes. Might as well be a Cooper Reyes. Later that evening, they sat on their back porch, watching the desert stars emerge. Sarah had gone to visit friends, leaving them with strict instructions to dress up for dinner tomorrow, clearly part of whatever anniversary surprise she'd planned. "Happy?" Mike asked. His fingers laced through Isabella's. She looked at their intertwined hands, his calloused from honest work, hers finally free of old scars. "More than I ever thought possible, even with the boring transmission repairs, especially with those." She leaned into him. "Though I still think we should expand into custom work. I have some ideas for engine modifications." "No nitrous oxide," he said firmly. "We talked about this. Spoil sport." But she was smiling. "Fine, but you have to admit, my upgrades to the computer system have doubled our efficiency." "True, though I'm still not sure we needed military-grade encryption on our customer database." "Old habits," she kissed him softly. "Thank you for letting me keep the useful ones." In the distance, a car engine rumbled, Sarah returning home. Soon, their quiet evening would be filled with her stories of college life and FBI adventures, of normal things and extraordinary ones woven together into the fabric of their unusual family. Isabella touched the ring on her finger, remembering. A desperate woman with a gun who once thought redemption was impossible. A woman saved not by grand gestures or dramatic sacrifices, but by one man's simple choice to stop and help on a dark highway. "I love you," she whispered. "All of this. Every boring, wonderful moment." Mike squeezed her hand. "Even the transmission. Repairs. Even those." She laughed. "But I still think a little nitrous wouldn't hurt." No. Their gentle bickering floated out into the desert night, joining the stars in a promise kept, a future earned, and a love that had transformed them all.